Welcome to Unfiltered, a podcast where I go deep with successful entrepreneurs and reveal what their journeys to success really look like. I'm your host, Mandy Schulis, owner of Mandy Schulis & Co., fractional COO, story strategist, and executive coach. I believe in story above all else. After I overcame domestic abuse and rebuilt my career, I've made it my life's mission to show other entrepreneurs the power behind their personal stories. Today, I am excited to bring you Lauren Hanan, who is launching the corporate arm of Fitlife Foods here in Tampa Bay. Welcome, Lauren. Are you ready to get unfiltered?
I think I am.
All right. All right. Well, let's start with the basics, like where you from, growing up, all that. Let's do that first.
All right, cool. So I grew up like 20 minutes north of Philadelphia.
Okay.
In Bucks County, Pennsylvania. Not sure if anyone's familiar, but
I know Philly fans, and anybody that's listening that knows that will be like, yeah, go Philly.
Yes, everybody says it. Whenever I tell people I'm from Philly, like, go Birds, go Birds. Or sometimes they seem like a little bit like ashamed. They're like, go Birds, It's like, it's okay, say it loud and proud. So yeah, so around the Philadelphia area is where I grew up. So I actually have two younger brothers. I guess that's important. I'm the oldest child, the only girl, which I think says a lot for my personality too.
I got four older brothers. I get it.
Yeah, which I'm sure will come out later in this interview. But actually, it's funny when I was in high school, we had to write for the yearbook like what we wanted to be, and I wrote that I wanted to own a PR agency and I wanted to do PR. And my grandmother always reminded me of that because that's what I ended up doing. That's what I went to school for. That's what I have. I have a master's degree in communications. I have a bachelor's degree in communications and PR, and that's what I do. So I think that is pretty cool and pretty different because a lot of times people don't really know what they want or will go to school for something completely different and then end up taking a pivot later in life.
That's hysterical. So obviously we'll talk a little bit about the fitness and nutrition portion of everything you do. But like I'm a former massage therapist with an MBA, which is also super confusing to people. Like, wait, why would you do that? I'm like, because I like business and I like to know how I get places.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So what would you say your like favorite real world experience would be that taught you the most?
Oh my gosh, there's so many.
Or give me a couple, whatever fits.
All right. I mean, I can start when I was younger. One thing I actually said to my husband the other day, I don't know why I like dwell on things all the time, and things come up in my head from the past, and I'm like, oh, and I get just all like pissed off at them. So I started thinking about what a high school teacher said to me like over 20 years ago. I remember like I was a smart kid. I was always in like the AP classes or the honors classes, and total nerd, but like also kind of like a cheerleader and stuff on the outside too. So like anyway, I won't go too much into that. But the fact that I was a cheerleader goes into the story. So I was in honors science classes. I think I was in 10th grade, and I was in physics classes. So I was in class with seniors, right? Got straight A's. I was always like a 3.9 GPA. At the end of the school year, the teacher felt obligated to bring us up one at a time to give us a word of advice.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. His word of advice to me was, life isn't all about being pretty. That's what his advice was to me. The woman who was 16 years old in a class with 18 and 19-year-olds getting straight A's. That was his advice to me. And I'm like, what's going on in his mind that he felt the need to say that to me? Right.
Oh.
But it still pisses me off to this day. But you know what? I want to go back and I want to tell him, you know what, dude?
I think you're hot.
And being pretty isn't so bad either, right? Like you can get some shit done when you're good looking.
I love it. One of my favorite things, and one of our previous guests was on the podcast, and she's a dear friend. We were talking about it, and she is a beautiful, very petite little girl who is a pit bull, and people don't expect that from her. And she goes, I am okay with things that open the doors that wouldn't open them for other people, whatever that looks like. And I was like, wow, that is the most PC way of being like, if I got boobs and that gets me in the room, okay. And then
I'm just going to wow them with everything else I got once I get in there.
Exactly. I used to get so offended. My dad, I remember, I was a daddy's girl, once told me, he goes, why are you so mad? He goes, you have blonde hair and big boobs. They don't see you coming. Like, just use it. I was like, oh yeah, okay. All
Yeah.
right. He had 4 boys before me. He didn't know what to do
Yeah.
with me. Oh my gosh. So, yeah, no, that I can't. I'm in my head because I know we're about the same age. I'm thinking, I was like, yeah, like that would definitely get a teacher fired these days.
Right? I
That would
know.
not have happened.
Well, it's funny because one of my brothers now works at the same school district that we went to growing up.
Oh my
And
gosh.
so what I was saying to my husband was like, I want to out this guy. Like I want to say something on social. And I was like, I'm not going to do it because my brother will be really upset. So I'm not going to do it. But, um, I'm saying it now. I'm not saying names or anything like that, but I'm saying it now. So this will be my time.
It's always amazing to me, and it's saddening too that somebody feels the need to belittle somebody that works so hard.
Hmm.
And it's funny because I made a post this morning and somebody made a comment about like I did it, I think it was yesterday, and I was talking about I don't talk about my degrees, I don't talk about my certifications
Hmm.
because I don't relate to people that constantly drop that kind of
Right.
stuff.
Same. And I saw that. I did see
Yeah,
that
it was
post. I
like I
was
think
like,
you
yes,
liked
girl.
it. And somebody commented, she goes, I feel guilty saying I went to Cornell because people like the fact that I'm goofy and fun. They don't want to think of me as the smart girl. And I
Mhm.
said something to her about it's funny how we spend our whole lives trying to prove we're the best and then hide when it turns out we actually are.
Yeah. Or we spend our whole lives trying to live up to other people's expectations or trying to be someone else because we think that we're not good enough. And then come to find out and realize later, like, yeah, I was the shit and I still am.
Yep.
So,
Like you missed out on all of this.
yeah.
When I was in high school and, we both have similar fitness back. It's very, I love how the universe just works
Yeah.
and does things,
Yeah.
right? I remember I lost about 35, 40 pounds between sophomore and junior year. And I came back and all of a sudden it was okay. Like people would talk to me that had never
Mhm.
talked to me before.
Mhm.
And it just was mind
Yeah.
boggling. To this day, it's still mind
Yeah.
boggling because
Yeah.
people still act. I was at my high school reunion and I told one girl, I was like, you do realize we are not 18 anymore, right? And I just walked away. I'm like, okay.
Wow. Yeah, people are wild. Yeah, it's a similar story with me. Similar story. I was a chubby kid. I used to come home from school. I was a latchkey kid, and I was the oldest, so I was in charge of taking care of my brothers. But I would come home and like eat a sleeve of Oreos, and just like I was lonely But one day after school, I saw an Oprah episode, and she was talking about the low fat diet. And I was in sixth grade. I was in sixth grade. In sixth grade, I think I weighed more than I weigh now, and I wore a size 12 in women's clothes, and I was like 4'10". It was like I was just like a roly poly little girl, and I have big curly hair, so I
I
had
love that big
I
hair,
had
man.
like this big curly afro, these huge glasses. I had braces. Listen, it was a lot going on. It was a lot going on. But so anyway, I took Oprah's episode and I put myself on that diet. And this summer between sixth and seventh grade, I also lost 30 pounds. And I remember coming back to school and people didn't remember me because my hair had grown. I had contacts. I no longer had braces. And it was like, here's this like butterfly suddenly. And I'm like, I swear I'm the same person though. I'm the same person, you know? But yeah, so we all go through those. Not we don't all go through those changes. Do you know like people that you went to high school with that like were beautiful in high school and you still see them on Instagram and you're like, that girl has not changed.
I do, but you know what I always hope? My daughter's going through a little bit of a awkward phase right now. She's almost 13 and she's 4'11". She's tiny, and she has recently gained some weight, and her body's changing.
Yeah.
And she gets injured very easily because of her condition. And I just told her, I said, honey, you will spend the rest of your life trying to be somebody else if you're not careful.
Right.
I was like, you need to find reasons that you love you. I said, there are people that are being mean to you right now that this is their peak.
Mm-hmm.
That there are people
Mm-hmm.
like that. But then there's a lot of other people that are mean to you that they got stuff going on behind the scenes. They just see that you have this fairy tale, like your stepdad adopted you, your mom's doing all this cool stuff, and it's a jealousy factor. You don't think about it because you've grown up with me doing things and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just amazing to me. It's like I wish more people would sit back and think like, wow, I was kind of an asshole.
Yeah. Yeah. When I was in high school, I remember I never thought I honestly never thought that I was like cool. I never thought that I was attractive or anything. And I remember looking up to the, quote unquote cool girls and the hot girls. And I was like, man, like I wish I had that swag, you know? And, obviously, the singer Pink, right?
Oh, dude,
So,
yes. I took Ella to go see her for her 8th birthday.
all right. So she's from Bucks County where I grew
I
up.
did not know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's like Philly's like her hometown or whatever.
Okay.
But, she came out when I was a junior in high school. And that actually happened to coincide with the time I used to dye my hair all the time, and I dyed it myself.
Okay.
I actually won an award senior year for most likely to change her hair color by tomorrow. Yeah. So junior year, or it might have been senior year, I switched it up a little too many times. I went from like black and I tried to go blonde. Like I didn't know, 16, 17 years old. I didn't know I couldn't do that, right? So my hair ended up being like orangish, red, weird. And my mom was like, you cannot go to school like that. Like you are a hot mess. So she calls like the only hair salon that was open, because I think it was like late at night too. And the guy, it was a man that did my hair, and he was just like, honey, we're chopping it off and you're dyeing it red. And I was like, love it. I loved it. I had like a pixie cut, it was so cool. And I go into school, and a guy was I overheard a guy in the hallway who's like, oh my God, Lauren Tosti looks like Pink. And I was like, yes, like I have made it.
You made
She
it.
is so cool. She is so cool. Yes. So yeah, I still love her. I love her so much.
Going back to embracing who you really are, I actually took Ella to Pink, which we're not talking about how much the tickets were, but they were worth every penny because she was like flying and
Yeah, right. It's like a circus and a musical
it was
entertainment.
So, and I did it because of her relationship with her daughter. And in the middle of it, I think it was the intermission, it cut to a video of her and her daughter talking about, some people think I look like a man or act like a man or whatever. And she goes, but honey, those are the same people that are paying thousands of dollars to go see me. So don't worry about it. And I was like, damn, I want to be your friend, man.
Yeah. She's cool as hell. And I remember like, I think, part of my lack of confidence, or I wouldn't even say my lack of confidence, because I was always confident. But the fact that I didn't think that I was all that I was, looking back now, I didn't know. But is my mom too, because my mom doesn't really have a lot of confidence. Her and my dad were visiting recently, and I was trying to get a picture of them, and she's like, I just hate every picture of myself. I hate every picture. And I'm like, why? You're beautiful. And she's like, no, I'm ugly. I hate myself. I said, Mom, what is wrong with you? Where's your confidence? And she goes, I think I gave it all to you when you came out. Okay. That was her answer.
Okay. All right. I can respect that. I think that would have made me stutter for a second. Like, what?
She's a mess.
Oh
But
my
I
God.
mean, at the end of the day, like we work out together every morning. She is amazing. She hops on Zoom with me, and I do some hard workouts, and she hangs in, man. And she'll text me afterwards. She's like, she calls me sister. We call each other sister because neither of us ever had a sister. So she said, sister, you tried to kill me today. And I'm like, no.
Honestly, when I text you this morning, I was like, I guarantee you she's on the bike with her mom or doing something. So, oh my gosh. I just love your energy all the way around.
Thanks.
And you are such a stunning human being that even like I try to go through and I look at people's social medias before we do this, just like, okay, I want to ask them a question about that. Oh, that's right. And we were lucky that we got to chat before this, but what would you say to a woman or a girl that thinks that you've got it all together right now?
Furthest thing from the truth, I would say. It's funny because we moved down to Florida about a year and a half ago, and my husband and I were like, we're gonna do all these Instagram stories and like show people how amazing it is. But really, it's just in like hopes that people will come down and visit us more because we miss our family and friends. But in reality, there's things that go on behind closed doors. There's insecurities, there's injuries, there's illnesses. About a year ago, I had a hysterectomy. So that's something that at first I didn't talk about. And then I'm like, why aren't I talking about it? That's kind of weird. People ask me all the time, like, why don't you have kids? Why don't you have kids? And the true answer is I couldn't. I never knew I couldn't because I really didn't ever want kids. So I never really tried.
I got two. You can have one. I'll probably come back eventually, but some days you can just have one.
But the reality is I couldn't. And now I really can't. So going through that surgery was definitely eye-opening. I recently posted about it on Instagram. I mean, I posted about it when it first happened, just like the recovery process. And I wanted to kind of inspire women so that, say it's okay. Like you can go through these things and you're still a beautiful woman and you still, you're still attractive and you're still strong and you can still do these things. And it's funny, since I've been, posting about my journey and my recovery and everything, about 4 or 5 different women that I grew up with, women that I used to work with, have come to me and said, I had issues as well. And I never went to the doctor, or I never wanted to do anything about it, but because of you, I did. And that's so inspiring to me that I made that difference in people's lives.
That's why, people are always like, why are you so into social media? What is doing operations have to do with social media and story? And I was like,
Mhm.
everything, because if you give people the opportunity to know you and to really see you, the game changes.
Mhm.
And I think part of that is going back to like being in high school and being the smart kid, and
Mhm.
that being part of my identity, almost all of my identity sometimes,
Yeah.
and but not being seen for who I really am. I realize, especially like, I don't make a secret, I'm a domestic abuse survivor, all these crazy things. But after I started talking about it, feeling like I was the only one, I realized I wasn't
Mhm.
at all.
Mhm.
And I feel like we get stuck in that, like, they call it fake book, right?
Mhm.
And I don't know, is there a handle for Instagram? Like,
Oh, I'm sure.
I'm sure that I have
Yeah.
to Google that. And as we get older, like, I hit 40 and something changed in my head.
Uh-huh.
And I'm not saying it hadn't changed previously, but
Mhm.
like, here was my level of fuck.
Yeah.
And it literally went through the floor.
You're like,
I was like,
I really
I'm
don't care
done.
anymore.
Like,
I'm
I
done.
am done. And it's so refreshing and so amazing to see, because the other misconception about endometriosis is that it does increase your, and I know you know all this, but just for our listeners,
Mhm.
increase your risk, due to obesity, due to alcohol consumption, all the things that we are all doing, because especially
Mhm.
since COVID. But you're gorgeous and you're fit and you're beautiful.
Yeah.
You have it, physically, you don't fit that
Yeah.
demographic at all.
I'll never forget. So I own a virtual fitness company, and I still have about 20 clients up in Philadelphia. And when I first found out that I had fibroids, endometriosis, and my uterus was 5 times the size of a normal
Ooh.
uterus. But when I first found out all this, I had been in pain. I had back pain, and um, I didn't know why. And I thought it was just from working out, honestly. And I'll never forget when I told my clients, it was on Zoom, of course, but I just bawled. I just bawled. And that was really the first time that I cried about it, because I realized that I would be without them for a few months and I would not have my movement and have my exercise for a little while. And that's when it hit me that it was going to be like a huge change in my life.
What's funny is, I don't think I actually told you this, but I was told when I was much younger that I had scarring and that I might not be able to have kids and all this other stuff. And then obviously I have 2 kids, so that is not true. So the first time, my daughter was a result of a lot of margaritas. And then the second time was my husband and I had just gotten engaged. It was COVID. And it was one of those moments where I was like, we're not kids. We know we're getting married. I don't really care. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
First time.
Oh, wow.
And then after my C-section, I developed a, it felt like a ball that just kept getting bigger
Mhm.
and bigger and
Mhm.
bigger and bigger and bigger. And I finally was like, what is going on? And so I had a hernia. Thanks, Bo, my son, that had to be fixed. And they're like, we're going to biopsy it. And it turns out it was endometrial cells that had, when they cut me open, come out of my uterus. So this whole
Yes.
time I had endometriosis and I didn't know that.
Holy cow.
So it's just these blanket statements about, oh, you can't do this, or you can do this, or this is what you should do. I don't know. I just feel like it's so dangerous,
Uh-huh.
and I felt some sort of way, because I'm Googling, because I didn't know that much about that specific issue.
Same.
And I was like, oh, well, I am overweight because, I gained all this weight with my breast. Like, oh, it's like, and in my head, I'm like, this is my fault. I do like wine too much. I am overweight. So, and then I was like, wait a second. That means I've had it the whole time. Like back even when I was training in fitness, fitness competing. So even when I was like a size 2, which let's be real, on my frame was not a good idea, not a good look. My ex-husband called me Skeletor at one point because you could see everything.
Gosh, yeah.
It was
your
bad.
bones are probably popping out.
Yeah. So, but again, going back to that body dysmorphia, I was like, for the first time in my life, I felt like I was beautiful because I was skinny enough. I was being able to buy a size 2 skirt or whatever, which is psycho. Like never again. If I get back down to like a size 8, 10, which I'm a 12, 14 right now, I will be solid and very happy. But anyway, it's just amazing to me how we don't talk about these things.
Well, it's funny. I thought endometriosis was caused by STD. I thought HPV caused it.
Oh, I didn't think about that. Okay.
And so when my doctor first told me, I said, well, that's impossible. I had the HPV vaccine. And she looked at me, she's like, that has nothing to do with it. I was like, oh.
Oops.
Okay.
My bad. Oh my gosh.
So see, like you learn so much as you go along, and like I didn't have anyone to look to that had it or had been dealing with it. So that's why I felt like I needed to come out onto social and kind of talk about it a little bit.
We had Oprah. You're calling it. We had daytime, afternoon, after school TV.
Jenny Jones,
Oprah. There was, oh my gosh, Jerry Springer.
Montel Williams.
Oh my God.
Was that it? Or was it Montel Jordan? Which one was it? Which one was the singer? Which one was the?
Montel Williams. This is how we do it. Now I'm going to have that song stuck in my head the rest of the day. Oh my God. But you said it best, latchkey kids, you know, my son was watching Paw Patrol while eating his lunch in front of the TV yesterday. And I felt like a twinge of guilt. Like, oh, that looks a little too familiar. Like I shouldn't be doing this.
It's funny because I look back now and like I made dinner. I made the dinner. I did laundry. I cleaned. I cleaned. I did a lot as a 11, 12-year-old child. And, when you hear this, I'm not saying this to, put you down or anything. Like she was working full time. My dad worked 3rd shift. So he was sleeping. Like he missed a lot of like the football games, the soccer games, the, band recitals. And it was hard. It was hard growing up, but we got through it. Here we are.
We did.
It made us who we are.
Exactly. And sometimes I yell at my daughter and it's like, I was cleaning the whole house by the time I was dead. Pick up your laundry.
It's kids today. I'll tell you, my niece, like she has like Gucci, like the Uggs, like I can't even name it, Lululemon.
Yeah.
And like she will not stand for anything less. And I told my sister-in-law, I was like, you could tell her no. And she goes, well, I do, but then my mom tells her yes, and her stepfather tells her yes. So
I will say I'm very lucky in that respect because my mother-in-law and we don't always see eye to eye. Like she's picking up my son today, so we can do this, which is amazing. I'm so blessed that I do have some support here. But I would probably kill her if she decided to go buy my kid a Gucci and I don't own one. Like, wait, what about me?
What about me? I know.
So I want to talk a little bit about how you feel like you've become the hero in your success story.
Okay.
I feel like we've touched about it a little bit, but I want you to like brag on yourself a little bit. Be like, yeah, I'm the shit. This is your I'm the shit moment.
More than I already do. No, I think, well, we talked a little bit about this previously, but I feel like there's some people that have like the it thing. And unfortunately, there's some people that haven't and never, ever realize that they have it. Like they'll go through their whole lives, and whether they were in an abusive relationship or a teacher put them down at one point or something, they just never think that they're good enough. And I think it does take a certain type of person to have the strength, the willpower, the confidence to overcome what everybody else thinks and say, F you. Like I am me and I'm proud of it. And this is where I'm going and this is what I'm about. I actually got a text from an old coworker a couple days ago, and she's like, I miss you so much. And she's still up in Philly. And I said, what's going on? And she said, oh, I met with somebody recently that it's a mutual contact, and she's a salesperson. And she said, but Laura, she's just so fake. Like she's like on her phone constantly. She's not really authentic at all. She's not. And she's like, Lauren, dealing with you, like you are unapologetically authentic. And that makes you so much better to work with than like these people that will put on any type of show to try and make a sale, you know? So, does that answer your question?
Kind of.
Kind of.
Kind of. My mom once told me, she goes, I don't know why you try to lie. You can't. I was like, that's fair. So I just stopped. I was like, I'm not even going to try.
I swear to God, it's like a fatal flaw, honestly. Like, I cannot tell a lie.
But it's also like a superpower, girl. Like,
It is.
I get it.
Because how many times have you seen somebody try to lie and they snowball and snowball and snowball, and before you know it,
I just make the popcorn.
Yes. Let me just watch.
Okay. All right. You know, it's funny. We've ended up talking a lot about health and body image and all of that. And I will fully admit I fucked up. I changed a picture. I was playing with an app and I was like, oh, damn, I wish my waist still looked like that. And obviously, you and I have it in common. We both pride ourselves on being super authentic.
Yeah.
And I got called out. This girl was like, I don't use these apps. So she's like, Mandy, take a look at this. She circled. And I was like, oh, like that's not good. Oh, no. Oh, no. And it's just so funny because it's like, yes, the point of this is, yes, it's a flaw, but it's also something that is so needed.
Yeah.
In business and in relationships and just in general. And I wanted to say as women, and that's part of it, but I think just in general as human beings.
Yeah.
I think COVID that was our time out. Like we were supposed to learn something and we still haven't. We've come back harder than ever.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's true. People are so fake, and like it got way faker behind closed doors. And you know how they always say in COVID, like people either had babies,
yeah,
broke up.
Hi, Bo, if you're listening to this years later,
or broke up because it's like, oh, this is the real you. My husband and our relationship is stronger than ever.
I agree.
After that, I mean, we actually loved it. We loved it.
We did too. We went walking 3 times a day. We were working from home. I mean, honestly, I didn't want to go back to work. When my husband found out I was pregnant, he's like, I knew you didn't want to go back to the office. This was your answer. Like, yeah, I did this all by myself.
Yep.
All by myself. Well, in general, did you have somebody who supported you or that has really made an impact on that journey to being unapologetically Lauren? Because she's pretty fucking cool. I'm not going to lie.
Oh, thanks, girl. I don't know. I really do feel like my parents played a big role in it. Like my dad always said to me, like, don't let anybody fuck with you. Like, do not. And do not let anybody tell you that you are less than what you are, because you are amazing. And I'm like about to cry just thinking about it. Like, I remember even in kindergarten, I got sent to the office because this boy in my kindergarten class I don't even know what he was saying, but my dad always told me if the boy makes fun of you, punch him in the nose. And so I did.
If they started, you better finish it.
So I did. And, but you know, there obviously have been times in my life when, you know, I haven't felt the greatest. And I would say my early 20s, I loved. I was very confident. I'm from the suburbs, and I went to school in the city, and then I ended up buying a house in the city when I was very young, and I bought it on my own, which I was very proud of. And I was just very confident, but also I was very authentic. I was very open. And I remember dating people, and they would kind of take advantage of how open I was and how maybe not nice, but I just tell it like it is. Like, I'm an open book. And, you know, I'm going to kind of go into my ex a little bit, but I think he really took major advantage of that. And I was married before my current husband. So, I was very open with him, and I told him things that I probably have never even told since him, because I kind of learned to like not open myself up that much. And he took advantage of those things, and he played on them because he was emotionally abusive to me. And, but I think after coming out of that relationship, I was thinking about this on my ride here. I don't really talk about it a lot, but, there was one day I was driving home from work. This was when I was with him, and I was crossing a bridge because I had to cross a bridge to get into Philly, and I thought about running my car off the bridge. And at that point, I called my mom, and I was like, That's not me. Like Lauren Tosti does not think about killing herself. Like that is unacceptable. And that's the point where I called my mom and I said, I'm leaving him. And I told her everything. And I didn't tell my dad because I knew my dad was going to want to kill him. So I was like, I'm not going to tell my dad. But coming out of that relationship and then my best friend who, God bless her, she's always tells me how much she admires me and she admires my confidence and my personality because she said she doesn't feel like she has that. So we've been best friends since we were 7. She's always looked up to that and been drawn to that. But she said, how could you let that happen to you? Like, I just don't understand. Like, how could you let that happen to you? And I'm like, it just happens. Like you don't even know it's happening until you are driving home from work one day and you want to kill yourself. And you're like, holy shit, this is not the person that I was or the person that I want to be. And I need to make a change right now. And so since then, I'm back, baby.
You know, we talked about this previously, but one of the dangers of being a ball buster, I'll put that in quotations, of a woman that looks like she always has it together or that always can figure it out or can always land on her feet or whatever that looks like, is that when we don't know what to do, we don't know who to tell.
Mm-hmm. Because we don't want anybody to think differently of us or anybody to be like disappointed or feel bad. I mean, that's how I felt. Like I didn't want anybody to feel bad for me because I'm the strong one.
Oh, I remarried mine. I was like, this is, take a big whiff. This is the poo. Like there is no way around this. But I remember my dad and fellow daddy's girl, obviously, but he was sitting there playing, not canasta, solitaire on the computer, right?
Yeah. Oh my God. That sounds exactly like my dad, but he still doesn't.
Sitting there and he's in the den. So he's like facing his back to me and he spins around on his computer chair and he looks at me and he goes, Mandolin, you about done? And I said, about done with what, sir? Military man, what, sir? He goes, you about done acting like you're not worth anything? Because I'm real tired of watching it. And I felt this big. And I was like, because of course I had to tell them I had bruises. There was no way around it. You don't show up in the middle of the night like that. And there's no way, there's no lie that you can tell to get around that. Mm-hmm. And I remember then he just spun back around, starts clicking his mouse. He goes, go wash up. Mom's almost got dinner ready. I was like, okay. And I'm 35 years old. I have a kid. Like my daughter was 6. I was like, okay, I was like, okay. And just that moment, I talk about this all the time. Like that moment, it was like, put up or shut up. Yeah. It's like, I see you.
Yeah.
Even if nobody else, if you can bullshit everybody else, I see you. What are you going to do about it?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I never told my dad. And then how we ended up breaking up was emotional abuse turned into physical abuse. And it turned out he had mental illness as well, but he ended up holding a gun to me. And I slept with one eye open that night. I talked him down, slept with one eye open. I remember I woke up super early and he had cameras planted in the house because he liked to be able to watch what's going on in the house as well as outside the house. He was very paranoid. So I turned the camera off that was on my dog, my Lola. I have her tattooed on over my heart. And I went into work super early and I knew my dad would be up because I told you he works shift work. So I knew he was going to be up. So I called him. I said, Dad, first of all, then I felt bad because I hadn't told him anything. He didn't know anything about it. And I said, Dad, I have something to tell you. I told him and I told him everything. And he goes, what time am I picking you up? Mm-hmm. And that was it.
My dad.
Yep.
That was the end of it.
That was it. And so he met me back at the house like later that day. And I'll never forget my ex saw the camera was off and he starts texting me. And he's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? But I have not seen or talked to that man since he held a gun to me, which is wild. Wild.
We call that, or at least I do, the hell no moment.
Yeah. You do not do that to me.
No. And it sounds like, you're sharing about having, possible suicidal thoughts, which when you feel like you have no way out, it's not necessarily you, it's your body, even your mind going, I can't do this. You know, there has to happen that moment for you to go, okay, I'm never going back
This is
here.
not okay.
Yeah.
No.
And I'm very, very, very glad you are here to have this conversation with me.
Me too.
So in general, do you feel like that made you stronger?
I feel like it lit a fire in me. I feel like I'm not going to say stronger. I'm just going to say realization. Realize the strength that I already had.
Mm-hmm.
And I would be remiss if I didn't talk about my husband now, who is amazing. And
It's the husband plug today, man. Anita, who was just here. It's
oh,
awesome.
really?
Yeah, it's Valentine's Day, guys.
Oh yeah. But he has not forced me or anything. He has encouraged me. He has um assisted me to even realize the higher power that I have, the strength that I never even knew I had. And like back then I've always been into fitness and everything. And I always said, oh, I wish I could be a fitness instructor. And I'll never forget the day that Mike is my husband. He said to me, Lauren, just go get your Zumba certification.
Yeah,
He's like, you're at the gym every day. You're the best one in class. And he's like, everybody's like wants to like be around you. He's like, just go do it and get paid to do it. And I was like, you are right, man. And then from there, it was like certification after certification after certification.
He opened that door.
Oh, yes, he did. And I'll tell you what, like, I love teaching. I love it. And that's something that I've experienced now in my 30s and 40s that I wish I had experienced earlier, is that joy of teaching and that high you get of, because I always knew the high of like fitness and exercise, but when you are helping other people, and when even if it's for that 1 hour or that 1/2 hour of time, but you're helping someone feel that strength in themselves, that's amazing, you know?
Well, if you're lucky, you meet people like you who understand, even if you don't know why they understand, and reach back and teach and lift up. And there's a difference between somebody that wakes up one day and decides to be a fitness instructor and somebody that has spent their whole life preparing for it, which, starting back with thanks Oprah for the low fat diet.
Yeah.
Sounds like you were preparing for that. And it's how you end up in the rooms you're supposed to be in, meet the people you're supposed to meet. And you're still, I know you said you're still teaching virtually. Are you teaching anywhere here in Tampa Bay or no?
Oh, so funny story.
Uh-oh.
So when we moved here about 1.5 years ago, when we moved here, we kind of decided that I wasn't going to teach, because when we were back in Philly, I was teaching like 20 plus classes a week, plus working full time. And when we moved here, we're like, you know what? I'm not going to go get a job at a gym. I'm going to still teach virtually, and we're going to enjoy our lives. We're going to explore our new home, So it's been 1.5 years now, and Mike and I took a spin class about a few weeks ago at Crunch. We were both members of Crunch, and the spin instructor came up to us after class. She's like, man, you guys know what you're doing. And Mike's like, well, Lauren's an instructor. I was like, oh, man.
Here we go.
Like, I wasn't going to tell her.
It's always the guys that out us, isn't it?
I know. I was like, Mike, I wasn't going to tell her. And she's like, oh, my God, we need instructors and da-da-da. But I said, you know what? I don't want to have like a set class. So I said, I can sub. So I'm on the sub list at Crunch. So you may, if you go to Crunch, you may find me there.
All right.
Yeah.
I mean, I would love to talk about, you mentioned the sleeve of Oreos, which I can see myself. I used to get a spoon and eat frosting.
Yes, same. And chocolate chip cookie dough.
Oh my God.
Right out of the tube. Yes.
So lucky we didn't get like salmonella. Or maybe we didn't. We didn't know because we didn't know any better.
Because we were getting sick anyway from as much as crap we were eating.
But I would love to share and talk a little bit about your nutrition love affair that's going on here with the local food company.
Love it. Yeah. So, well, we talked about when I was young and low fat, but that still wasn't really knowing about nutrition, like being able to count the grams of fat that you eat. That's math, right? Like that's not really knowing. I don't think I truly started grasping the idea of nutrition until again my 30s probably. And I do have a certification. I'm a certified nutrition coach. Surprise, surprise. But learning, there was always like the food pyramid, which is a bunch of bullshit. And
BMI, food pyramid, like all of it. I cringe every time I see it in a textbook. I'm like, they're still teaching this shit.
And it's like what's crazy is the more I read and the more I learn about food and what it does to your body. And it's like, what am I supposed to eat? Like, I don't even know. Should I just go out back and eat the grass? Like, I don't know. But it's funny because my whole life I've always loved PR. Like, my parent, I love talking, I love communicating. My parents said I never had a first word. Like I just came out with full sentences.
That was my daughter.
I was talking, babe. Like that's it. And I'm telling you what's up. And so I love the communication aspect of my entire career and what I've done and marketing and advertising and all of that. Now, it wasn't until I moved to Florida that I got into meal prep and got into really thinking about what not only myself, but what other people are putting into their bodies and how it's affecting their performance. And when I met the CEO of Fitlife, I was just like, you are so smart. Like, cause he's so about nutrition and like their entire thing is about fueling your journey, feeding your journey. And that's what food is about. Like you should enjoy it, but you should also realize that you are fueling your body and use it for fuel and not for emotional support or whatever else. But that's what I love about Fitlife, honestly, is like, I mean, this sounds like such a shameless plug, but it's so
Hey,
true.
that's part of why we're here is we want to know all about you and what you're doing.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. It is so true. And it's funny, like, part of my employment, I get free meals, obviously. I mean, that would be silly if I didn't.
Can I be your sister?
Sure. But we eat Fitlife. I mean, I should be ashamed to say this. We eat Fitlife like almost every day. At least
Girl,
one.
I'm busy. I get it.
Yes, at least one meal. And let me tell you, it helps. It helps because it truly is macro balance. And here's another thing too. I don't even know if I told you about this before, but their culinary center is like top class quality assurance. Like when I went there, I had to put booties over my shoes.
Oh, wow.
I had to wear a lab coat, a mask, a hairnet. I mean, it was crazy. The entire thing is refrigerated. It stays at like no more than 32 degrees. So the people that work there, I do feel bad for them right now because they're all bundled up because they have to work in a refrigerator all day long. But the level of safety of the food is amazing as well. Because I've been in other kitchens. I worked in restaurants my whole life.
Bartender, restaurant.
Girl, I've seen it all. Like I've seen some crazy shit in
Lots
restaurants.
of stuff you don't want to see.
Yeah. And I won't name names, but
I think the ones I'm thinking of are out of business now.
Yeah.
So I think we're all right.
But I will tell you that I can definitely vouch for the safety and the quality of this food. Like they care so much about what they're putting in their food, and that means so much. I mean, it means a lot to me because I would feel like a fraud if I knew there was not so good things going on behind the scenes, and here I am like touting it.
I think we have that in common. I can't rep things that I don't believe in or that it's like 75% okay, but there's that 25% that's like, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
And I've struggled with that my whole life. And it's something that, again, turning 40 started, I was like, you know what? It's okay. If this is what my threshold is, that's what we're going to do. Yeah. And I've had Fitlife on and off for many, many years because they've been around since what?
2011.
Okay. Again, what is with that? That's the year that my daughter was born.
Really?
And yeah, so it must have been a year. Go back and look at the cosmos, whatever was going on that year. But their breakfast meals were a lot of the time would save me because I am notorious for not eating till like, I did have a protein shake this morning. Hold on. Did I eat this morning? I did. Not well, but enough. And, and they're good.
Yeah. It's true. Yeah, my husband actually had jury duty yesterday, so he had to be at the courthouse like 8:30. And he's like, "I'm gonna have the egg white breakfast
with the bacon and that." Yeah, yes. That's and I love that they've actually what works. They don't change it.
They don't change it a lot.
No.
Yes.
I mean, some stuff they do, but like that specific one, they've had, I would argue, since practically the beginning.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a couple of menu items. Like they have this mac and cheese with like barbecue beef or something that everybody loves. I don't eat it because I don't eat beef or mac and cheese, but I hear it's delicious. But yeah, they have like their staples, definitely. And I think that the fact that they stay consistent, that says a lot about their quality as well, right? Because they know what they're doing. The kitchen is well prepared, but they do launch new foods every couple of weeks. They launch new meals. They actually just launched 2 this week.
Okay.
And I'm kind of pissed. I can't. I don't eat gluten. I don't eat gluten, dairy, red meat. And I just started working pork back into my diet, but so there's a lot of things that I don't eat, and then I get like so annoyed because I'm like, oh damn, that looks so good, like I want to eat that so bad, but I'd stick to my guns. That's another thing about nutrition is I used to get so in my own head with sticking to my guns and so in my own head and get like so down on myself if I slipped up. And I know people, I was one of them. Like I slip up and then next thing you know, it's this downward spiral. Next thing you know, you're in that cookie dough with a spoon, eating it out of the tube again, and you're back to 11 years old. So, but there's, I call it a shift in mindset. And I actually use this in my entire life is you have to literally shift your mindset. You have to shift the way that you think about things and shift the way that you're thinking about the outcome and the reason why you're doing things. And if you can understand why and what that outcome will be, then it helps to kind of guide you along the way. And so now I don't have slip ups, but I also don't really have cravings. Like I've learned to completely shift my mindset so that I do crave chocolate. People,
I lived in Germany, girl. There's no way around that.
I had an old coworker and I said, I don't eat sweets. I don't eat gluten. I don't eat dairy. I don't eat sweets. And she's like, well, what do you do if you have like a craving? I said, I have a protein bar or I have a protein drink, like a shake. Like, and that's pretty good, you know? But now Fitlife makes these peanut butter oat balls. I don't know if you've ever had them.
Those are another old school one though, aren't they? They've had that. I think they've had those. I've had those before. They're good.
Oh my God,
they're really good.
So good.
The only problem is I get them. I want the whole container.
Yes, and there's 3 servings in a container, so so that's when the willpower comes in.
This is the chubby kid because I could tell you I'd probably be wrong, but at one point I could tell you how many grams of fat were in, everything, right? Calories, and it's not something you turn off once you've had it a really long time. I had somebody complaining recently, was like, oh, I don't want to use my fitness pal. Then you have to look everything up. I was like,
I don't.
No, you don't.
Yeah.
I just use it to track because I'm lazy.
Yeah, same. I use it to track to look at my macros, but like I can tell you there's 105 calories in a banana. You know?
Small or medium? Which one?
I would say medium.
Yeah. We're pathological. I don't know if this is good, Lord. But, you're actually really inspiring me. So I have been over 200 pounds since I had my son. I was actually almost 300 pounds.
I would not guess that.
Thank you. My body is telling me because it hurts.
Right.
And I dropped most of it breastfeeding. And then actually I worked with Anita. I was her client for a while.
Okay.
And she's been trying to get me to come back. And every time I do these episodes and stuff, especially because we're up on YouTube, part of it, I get so down on myself. And it's funny that you're talking about that shift in mindset. And it was one I experienced for a really long time. And then over the last few years, I've kind of gone back to that 11-year-old sometimes, like, just fuck it. I'm going to get the container. And I know it is not having the right mindset and the right grace around what's going on.
Right. You're almost trying to overcompensate or hide how you're feeling or what you're thinking. And
100%.
Right.
100%. And, my husband and I had a custody battle for 2 years. We had a surprise baby. We got married. We moved. We literally crammed an entire marriage into the first 5 years.
Right. Like over the past, that's like me and mine over the past couple of years. We've been through so much.
And then, and I'm like, wait a second. Okay. So this is why I'm feeling a little overwhelmed. There's not a person alive that wouldn't feel overwhelmed. And honestly, launching Unfiltered partially was because I felt lonely. I was like, I wanted to meet more people like me, and I have a 2-year-old. So that is a very limited window.
Yeah.
And I was always very driven. I was a successful entrepreneur for many, many years. So being tossed back into like retiring from massage, not knowing what to do and all those things, it's just, it goes, what now?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And
I hear that.
my clients joke that I'm the what now girl.
Mhm.
So like, this is where we're pivoting. This is whatever. And for you to be able to say, I don't need that. And in my head, I was thinking, I bet she gets people to get her shit all the time. But that's such an amazing thing. Like, I find myself, like, my friend unfortunately is not well, but I didn't want to go over to her house because she always wanted me to drink wine. But I know how inflammatory wine is for my
Mhm.
body specifically, in general, most people. But I didn't want to go tell her, I just don't feel good. I don't want to do that. Because then she'd be like, well, why not? Like, what's your problem?
Yeah.
So, thank you for being that beacon and for like, I don't eat this stuff. Yeah, sure, I'd like to, but it makes me feel like shit. So I'm not
Right.
going to do it.
Yeah.
So,
And I actually just recently had that realization with alcohol as well. After like Christmas and New Year and everything, we were like, we've been drinking way too much. And after the hysterectomy and I actually broke my foot in the same year as well. So I was limited in exercise and everything, but I'm like, I'm ready to get back. I'm ready to feel at my top, at my best. And if I'm drinking every single night, that's not going to get me there.
no.
And so recently, like since the new year, we've dramatically cut back on drinking. And oh my God, I'm sleeping better.
Oh, yeah.
I feel better. I'm thinking clearer. It's amazing. Now I will still have wine on weekends or, occasional happy hour, whatever, that's fine.
That's the other thing, networking and building a business.
Oh, right?
I could literally go drink every night of the week if I wanted to.
I know.
It's
I know.
crazy.
That's what I'm in sales, right? So
Mhm.
I'm going to networking stuff all the time and I'm like, "Oh, what do I do?" I actually met another woman yesterday and she was like, "Well, I don't drink either. So we should go to stuff and we could just have club soda." And I'm like, "Sounds
Yeah,
good.
club
Sounds
soda
good."
with a lime, maybe a mint leaf. Nobody knows
Yeah.
what's in it.
Yeah, and in actuality, I think networking might be better when you're not drinking.
Oh, I'm sure it would. Like you're actually being able to listen instead of having that fuzz.
Yeah.
Not that there's anything
And
wrong with that.
remember everything.
Exactly. I used to be razor sharp even regardless of what I was doing. And now I don't know. I don't know if it's he was 9 months old and shared COVID with me,
Aw.
the surprise pregnancy, or just the fact that life has thrown a whole bunch of curveballs
Yeah.
over the last few years. That it's
Yes.
like my brain just
There's
doesn't
something
work
in the
like,
atmosphere, in the universe or something. Because,
Yeah.
like I said, same with me.
Yeah. So I don't know. And I love that you're working with Fitlife because I'm from here. So I know the company,
Yeah.
but I know a lot of people that don't.
Right. That's part of
So-
my job is education. That's what I said. Like this is a brand new arm of the business that I'm heading up, right? So a lot of what I'm doing is it has to start with education on what Fitlife is and why it is important. And then sell what I have to sell. But yeah, there's a lot of education. But thankfully I do feel as compared to Philadelphia, a lot of people down here are more into health and
Oh, yeah.
and fitness.
Have you seen the amount of beautiful women we have on our beaches and men, actually? Like,
Yes. Yes.
I went to Florida State with my husband, and we always joke that FSU had the prettiest girls of anywhere in the country.
Really?
I don't know if it's actually true, although I am a Knoll, so I would say that. But in general, like Florida tends to take things like that seriously. We
Yeah.
also party harder than a lot of cities. But, it is, I mean, it's hot as hell. You don't want to not be able to wear shorts.
Right, and
or
you
feel
want
comfortable
you do
in
want to feel
shorts.
comfortable in your own skin, and it's not even about looking, quote unquote beautiful all the time, but more so just being comfortable and
Yeah.
feeling good and feeling like you said, like when you're overweight, your body feels it, right? When you're drinking all the time, your body feels it.
And
So-
compounded, oh my Jesus. I hurt my ankle, obviously. And I got out of bed yesterday. I was cocky and I didn't wear my brace. And I was like, oh, okay. No heels today.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yep. I don't usually wear heels either because I have a bad ankle too.
Yeah. It's the same one I rolled it during Zumba.
Mhm.
I rolled it when I was running, when I was in high school. This is like the 4th or 5th time. It's been years, thankfully. But as soon as I did it, I screamed. I thought I broke it. And then I was like, oh, wait, no, I know this pain. Okay, that's the universe going slow your roll.
Yeah, chill out.
Chill out.
Yep.
Calm down. Not that serious.
Yeah.
That's my favorite.
Yeah.
Not that serious. Calm down.
Yeah. Broke mine twice cheering. Then had reconstructive surgery on that tendon. I literally stepped out of bed and my tendon snapped.
Oh, ow, ow,
Yeah.
ow, ow, ow.
This was about 10 years ago. And then that's the foot that I just broke. Literally 2 days before I turned 40 years old. And I was in Cancun. I was the fitness instructor at the resort.
Oh God.
And I broke my freaking foot 2 weeks before my 40th birthday but I didn't want to go to the doctor. So I kept teaching. I just strapped on a sneaker and I just kept teaching that whole week. Okay. I was like, I'm not ruining my birthday and I'm not ruining, this fitness plan that I have. So I waited till I got home.
Yep. No, that sounds 100% like I get that. That's again, that driven mentality.
That's a strong woman for you.
That's not a good thing always. But you got to do what you got to do.
That's right.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
Do you have any parting words? Anything that you'd like to leave the audience with?
No. I mean, I think it's what I wanted to get across today is that it's just important to be yourself, be true to yourself, be confident in yourself, and do great things.
Unapologetically authentic.
Unapologetically authentic. Yes.
You are definitely that, my friend.
Oh, thank you.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today on Unfiltered. We hope that this episode fueled you and encouraged you to continue pushing towards your goals no matter what. You can learn more about me and my services at mandyschulis.com or pretty much anywhere Mandy Schulis. I will also include in the show notes a link to connect with myself and Lauren on LinkedIn. And we hope to see you next time to get unfiltered.